Well, hey folks, relaunch which are Mentalins, a relaunch rant about the current WWE product, where big shout out to Avalena Tweets first and various others, you know who you are, for, I didn't want to forget anyone's name, so I'm shouting out Avalena and the other ones, you know who you are, because we talked in DM or on, in a tweet thread. That was a whole lot of fun. Thank you guys for inspiring me to talk about this first topic, which is part-timers and WWE tending to sacrifice their current roster at the expense of part-timers. Now, I'm going to give you a good example. Now, this is going back a few years, but Cena and Rock, that was a good example of using a part-timer to elevate a star. Now, yeah, Cena was already well established anyway, but that feud did help Cena. The second time, didn't necessarily care for that either, but it is what it is. I mean, that's a whole other topic for another day. And in various Royal Rumbles and Battle Royals, they have had stars come back and stuff like that. Chris Jericho's made appearances here and there, even though he's been full-time. He then would go away for a while. He would help elevate talents. When used correctly, part-timers can actually be very beneficial. Undertaker is a part-timer for a good long while, and actually still is. Pretty much has been since about 2010. But when used correctly, some stars, current stars can absolutely benefit. Now we go to the Women's Royal Rumble, where they had some great examples of women coming back. Jacqueline did well. I almost said Jaqueline. Thanks, Derb. Shout out to Durbinator. Thank you very much for ruining that name for me. Seriously, no, it was a funny skit. Molly Holly, Tori Wilson, who is a succubus or an immortal and has not aged. Seriously, she looks great. I'd be fine with either, honestly. Michelle McCool did well. Vicky Guerrero even made an appearance. How great was that? Vicky Guerrero made a goddamn appearance. But then the Bellas made an appearance. And were featured in the final three. Now, I had no problem with the Bellas being in the ring. The Bellas should have been in the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. Whether I liked the Bellas or not, I would get the point as to why they were there. And you don't have to wrestle nearly that, especially that well, to be in the Royal Rumble. You just have to not screw up your spots. Oh, hi, Kelly, I didn't see you there. But the Bellas being in the final three and Asuka not being able to wipe the floor with them in 25 seconds was absolutely ridiculous. Now, Asuka winning was great. And then an example of how they used a part-timer correctly. Ronda Rousey comes up, does a whole pointing thing, all that. I'm not going to attempt to do that again because I don't have enough room on camera to do that. But I was not a big fan of Ronda Rousey coming in WWE at first. I was proven wrong. Thankfully, I was proven wrong. Example of using people right, to get part-timers to get a new talent over. Stephanie, a non-wrestler, Triple H on her side, and then Kurt Angle, two part-timers, a non-wrestler, helping get Ronda Rousey over. Now, it wasn't all about Ronda Rousey. Everybody got their spots in and everything, but at the end of the match, Ronda Rousey seemed like a big star. And from there, faced Nia Jax, faced Alicia Fox, faced Alexa, is now the Raw Women's Champion. And, to varying degrees, they actually got Nia Jax to her best match in WWE. And Nia Jax is still green and is trying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. And hopefully she recovers from her injury. But let's take a look at, Ronda Rousey now. She's the current women's champion. Cool. She is the current women's champion. I would have gone with somebody else, but it is what it is. But you got all these women that you could line up to challenge her. You could have Bayley, Sasha, Ruby Riott, just to name a few. Mickie James at Evolution. You could line up a whole bunch of women to do that. Mickie James would actually be my choice. Mickie James or Ruby Riott. Because Sasha and Bayley seem like they're on this collision course to be stuck in a tag team in purgatory hell for fucking forever. It is terrible because so many women deserve so much more than Nikki fucking Bella being brought back to face Ronda Rousey. What the fuck has Nikki Bella done to get a title shot? What the fuck has she done to deserve it? What? Not, manage to, wear a hat backwards, manage to have a you can look but you can't touch theme. Ooh, great. Scandalous. Honestly, if you're a fan of the Bellas, that's great. Seriously, if you are a fan of the Bellas, if you like them, if you think that they're great, cool. I just don't see the goddamn point in Nikki Bella getting a title shot, if that actually ends up being what happens. Now, to be fair, that's all rumored, but that seems to be where they're going with this. They're going to have Nikki Bella, who shouldn't even be able to get in the ring with Ronda Rousey without getting beaten in a minute, because Nikki's skills are barely above the floor, and Ronda's are through the goddamn roof. And Ronda is even still green. And thankfully, Alicia Fox is okay after that match that they had, because those shoulder throws, holy fuck, those look deadly. But Alicia's a professional and really did help make Ronda look like a goddamn $1,000,000. But I'm sorry, Nikki is like one of the ones that irks me. Now, she did recover from her neck injury, thankfully, and that's great. I certainly wouldn't want her to be unable to earn a living, honestly. But just as a wrestler, her and Brie mad. That's what goddamn sounds like. Who the fuck wanted the Bellas back? Let's bring the Bellas back to show the de-evolution of women's wrestling. Because neither Bella was ever good in the ring. Neither Bella ever deserved to be in the wrestling ring. They didn't. Nikki marginally improved. Fantastic. Congratulations. Some people can carry you to a match without you looking like a goddamn idiot. Brie, I know you want to see your daughter wrestle. Not that the Bellas are ever going to see this. Brie, I know you wanted to see your daughter wrestle, or you wanted your daughter to see you wrestle, but I'm sorry. I'd be embarrassed to see that. It's like, wow, my mom's a red. Wow, my mom's not very good. I know that seems a bit harsh, but seriously, Brie was never that good in the ring. To be fair though, Brie and Brian seemed very good together. Brie got back in the ring shortly after having a kid. That was great, and it is inspiring for a lot of women that have children, that they can get back into great shape and get into athletic competition, anything, all that stuff. Serena Williams is a perfect example of somebody that has done well since having a child. And that was just a little bit off topic from wrestling. Maurice is somebody that just recently had a kid that got back in the ring. Maurice is also somebody that was not very good in the ring either. And now you're going to have Daniel Bryan and Brie, and we're going to have to hear Brie mode again, which means I'm going to want to claw my ears out, versus Miz and Maurice at Hell in a Cell. And that'll be interesting as long as Miz and Daniel Bryan have the match going. Because Brie and Maurice, God, that was a terrible matchup. I'm so sorry about that. Really never were that good. And I mean, Maurice was smart to get out of the ring when she did. I think she had an injury of some kind. But she got out of the ring when she did. And was a long-reigning Divas Champion. Speaking of the Divas Championship, that's where this is going back to. Because Nikki Bella getting a title shot is ridiculous. And why is Nikki Bella getting a title shot? Pretty much because of name value. Because it sure as hell ain't wrestling ability. I mean, I'm sorry. If you guys like the fact that the Bellas are back in the ring, okay, cool, whatever. I think it's going to come at the expense of a lot of women that really could use that kind of push. If you use the Bellas like at Evolution to lose to the Iconics, and you know, some people are calling the Iconics the new Bellas, except Billy and Peyton on their worst day are better than Nikki and Brie could ever be on their best day. I mean, just saying. You say what you want about the goddamn gimmick, but Nikki and Billy, or not Nikki and Billy. Nikki and Billy actually would be interesting. Peyton and Billy would actually be very interesting to see, and sorry for the botch right there, but Peyton and Billy are actually a really good duo. And actually are really good wrestlers. So imagine that concept. You have the looks, you have the mic skills, and you have the ability in the ring. And I'm sorry, but I don't really think that the Bellas have either of those. That's just my opinion, though. My opinion. So no shitting on the Bellas, though Nikki, again, does not fucking deserve a goddamn title shot. What the fuck has she done? But now let's go to another part-timer. So after Goldberg comes back and beats Kevin Owens for the Universal title, and then loses it to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 33 in a match that was at least better than the WrestleMania 20 match. And again, they could have shit in the ring and it would have been a better match. Brock Lesnar goes to face Samoa Joe, Great Balls of Fire. Thankfully, the only ever Great Balls of Fire, hopefully. That there are medicines for that, by the way. And then he faces off, and actually he wrestles in a good four-way match that was Reigns, Lesnar, Braun, and Joe at SummerSlam 2017. That was actually a really damn good main event. Very fun. But Lesnar's time as champion, it was all about just getting Reigns over. And now the title isn't really in that good of a place. I mean, keeping the title on a part-timer for a bit to elevate somebody is fine. But the way they did it just did no favors to anybody. Because Braun seemed like a joke. Joe seemed like a joke. It was just ridiculous. It was just fucking stupid. When you use part-timers in a good way, like going back to Evolution, you got Trish versus Alexa. That's going to be a great example of how WWE can use Trish as a catalyst to make Alexa an even bigger star. Because Alexa in the ring isn't great, I admit that. But she's got the charisma, and she's got the character down. She does have that down. She's a really good bitch on TV. But the thing about it is Trish, I would have rather Trish versus Sasha or Trish versus Mickey. Finalize that feud and everything, and, do all that. Even though I think you could still have them, if you want to have just a bunch of matches at Survivor Series, have a 5-on-5, have Legends versus Legends. I don't know, something like that. Here's something I would do at Evolution. Just a little quick side note before I move on to the other topic of this. Because that's pretty much the reason why I was going to talk about part-timers was the Bellas and Brock. Yes, Brock, let me just make it clear. If I was offered as much money as Brock was, I would have absolutely taken the deal and done all that bullshit and just wrestled very few times and earned a ton of money. I don't blame Brock for that. I blame Vince for that. Vince was a goddamn idiot for it. Oh, it got Roman over, pal. Hoorah! Imagine Vince doing that in his suit jacket with his face that he's no longer getting Botox on, and now it's like all sagging. He's soon going to look like Droopy McMahon. Now I need to see Droopy as a McMahon. Derb, if you're watching this, Photoshop that at some point. No, I'm just kidding. I'll talk to you at some point about that. But anyway, whole point is, there are a lot of really, really good ways to use part-timers. But with Brock Lesnar, it just wasn't a good way. Because him steamrolling people isn't what bothered me. But just the fact that it was all just to get Reigns over, and now the fans are still tepid on it, it's not very good. But Trish could elevate Alexa at Evolution. Victoria is somebody they should bring back for Evolution. Now, I don't know if Victoria is still wrestling. I don't have a clue. But I think Victoria should be featured there. Have Victoria and Sasha and Bayley versus the Riot Squad if you're going to have something like that. If you don't think Victoria versus Ruby Riot, which would actually be a pretty fun match, I think, you don't think that's going to work, okay. I understand that. But have a 6-woman tag. I think Victoria deserves the spotlight. Victoria's a damn good wrestler, very underrated, and deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But that's my brief rant on part-timers. There are a ton more part-timers that we could mention. Do not fucking get me wrong. There are a ton more part-timers we could mention, and perhaps I will visit this at some point. But yes, this was a chance for me to rant on the Bellas and on the fact that, on the Brock Lesnar thing and stuff like that. I hope that Evolution ends up being a better show than I suspect. I fear that it won't be, though, but I'm going to try to remain optimistic because I hope that the women get featured in a big, big spot and can do some great things. Because honestly, so many of the women worked so hard to get to WWE, doing great things, and have worked hard since WWE. But now I want to go to the oversaturation of the TV product. This is what bothers me about WWE's TV product. One, they have too many recaps. Apparently they all think we have ADD, or they think, hey, people are tuning out for stuff they don't want to see. Let's recap the stuff they didn't want to see, so they tune right back out. Or they have ADD or ADHD or stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with you if you have ADD or ADHD, and hopefully you have gotten the proper treatments to be able to control that. Attention spans are really bad. What was I talking about? No. And I'm not joking, by the way. I actually do have a bad attention span. You may have noticed that in some videos, especially with the Derb. I really have to be like Jeff Hardy and remain so fucking focused on the camera. But oversaturation of TV product. 3 hours of Raw. Whatever exclusives they put on their YouTube channel, pointing at the TV behind me. SmackDown, 2 hours. Whatever features, whatever stuff they put on their YouTube channel. 205 Live. NXT. Now NXT UK coming up. Mae Young Classic coming up at some point. That's going to be 9 hours. Taking out the Mae Young Classic, that's still going to be what, 8 hours? 8 hours? And then the exclusives and other stuff that they have, stuff on the network and everything. WWE is trying to branch out to so many places and so many markets because Vince still thinks that he's that same guy from the 80s that can take down all these territories. The problem is a lot of places are a lot smarter than that because things have changed. Now, WWE is not going away. The money that they earn, everything is never going to change. WWE is always going to be the top earner. But New Japan's popping up. Stardom's doing pretty well. Shimmer's doing pretty well. Ring of Honor. Impact. PWG still draws some great crowds at their shows, or at least high volume crowds because of like money and stuff like that, and hot crowds. There's a promotion up here that runs occasionally in Seattle called Defy Northwest. Myself and the Durbinator have been at a couple of those shows. And they get some big name talents there, and they're able to draw like 400 people in some old theater, which is pretty damn good, and it's pretty damn loud, by the way. I mean, it's really good acoustics for that, but you leave with a headache. It's absolutely worth it. And I got to meet Toni Storm. My God, I love Toni Storm, who is and that's kind of where I'm going to talk about the oversaturation of the product. I'm glad that NXT UK is going to be doing this stuff. Maybe that way they can spotlight wrestlers that aren't featured as well. But there comes into my next thing. WWE oversaturating and overextending the amount of people they have on their roster. They have so many people under contract. So many people under contract that there are so many wrestlers that aren't featured for like weeks or months on Raw or SmackDown. The Ascension got featured, and I think the last time the Ascension got featured was like a month or two ago when the B Team was trying to, gain relevance and were trying to be champions. I mean, I don't know, the B Team or the Ascension might have appeared before. Primo and Epico just recently popped back up on TV. The last time you saw Primo was in the Greatest Royal Rumble because Epico, I think, had a shoulder injury or something. But the Bar hadn't even really been featured all that well. Gallows and Anderson. So many tag teams aren't featured all that good unless you're the New Day. And even the Usos haven't been featured all that well. Sandy, where the hell is Sandy been? They'll be on SmackDown next week. Rusev Day is a pretty good... I'm not going to try to do the Rusev Day like Derb does because he does it much better. He actually has a singing voice. I just have a voice where you just want to, repeatedly smash your head into a wall rather than listen to me sing. But my whole point is that you see so many talents that are featured on SmackDown and then not featured for a number of weeks. Shelton Benjamin's been barely featured. Raw has some people who were like, oh yeah, I remember them. Ember Moon hasn't been on for the past couple of weeks. So many people, they have so many people in their roster that they almost have to do it where they have just people they feature on TV and then people they feature on house shows, which I'm sure is how some of the house shows work. NXT has a lot of people. They have so many people that they're trying to feature, and they only have an hour's worth of TV, which I'm not saying they should extend. They should not at all. But WWE oversaturating the product and oversaturating the roster. Signing all these big indie stars who their dreams may be to be in WWE, and that is fantastic. And like maybe signings for the Mae Young Classic 2. I don't know how many they've signed from that. I hope they sign one Canadian wrestler named Nicole Matthews because I've seen her twice live and she fucking deserves it. She's a fucking amazing wrestler. Hopefully she is signed. I don't know, but we'll find out. But with the Mae Young Classic 2, they're signing a whole bunch of these women. There are so many other women that are fighting for TV time on NXT. Some that get forgotten about. Even if they're on the house shows, sometimes they get forgotten about. And male wrestlers too, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that female wrestlers are the only ones, but they're signing all these women's wrestlers to these contracts and featuring them well. And don't get me wrong, some women are getting some big spots. But let's just take a look at how many could benefit from not being in WWE, and not just women. I mean, because to be honest, I think WWE needs all the women they can get to bolster their women's division, because maybe they could do an all-women's show at some point. But then WWE would almost be like New Japan, because New Japan doesn't have women's wrestling because there's a couple female promotions in Japan. I believe Stardom and, forgive me, if it TGPW. Tochi Pro Wrestling. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry. I think is it Joshi Pro Wrestling? I don't know what it is. Apologies. Tell me what it is in the comments. Tell me what some of the companies are in the comments. But anyway, the whole point is there are a lot of women that can be featured a whole lot better than they are. The men, you can't have every single main eventer from companies come into your company because then you have no goddamn main eventers. Keith Lee is somebody I hope they use pretty damn well. Matt Riddle, I don't know if they're necessarily going to use Matt Riddle that way. I don't know. He is a pretty good wrestler. He doesn't do much for me, but I get why people find him appealing, and hopefully he does well. They're signing all these big names. Balor, remember all the hype for Balor when he came in? Remember all the hype for Kenta Hideo Itami when he came in? And yes, injuries have undone some of that. But they keep signing all new people. It's Vince bringing a whole bunch of, bringing all the toys into his toy box, like a kid in kindergarten, but bringing them all into his toy box or into his area. Not so he can play with them, but so others can't play. Others can't play with them. Others can't have them. The problem is WWE is spending so much goddamn money on these talents. Yes, they're making a ton of money. They got TV contracts coming up here really soon. The USA Network's going to pay them a ton, I think 2-3 times more money than they paid for the last TV contract, which is fantastic for the talents. Hopefully the talents benefit from this. I'm not saying bring back Pyro. They need to feature them as, they need to feature them. Apologies for my TV going off right there. They need to feature these people on bigger stages and everything. But the problem is they only have so much TV time and only so many ways to do, to do that with the TV time that they have. And I'm certainly not saying they need to expand Raw or expand SmackDown. They do not need to expand SmackDown to 3 hours because SmackDown is a nice little bite-sized chunk of wrestling that goes by really quick, even if the show is bad. But they need to stop signing so many damn people unless they're going to let a bunch of people go. And I'm not advocating for people to lose their job. I'm not going to throw names out of people they should get rid of. There are certain people I could see them getting rid of. Even if they're wrestlers I don't like, I don't wish for them to lose their job. But WWE is at a crossroads when it comes to this stuff because they have so many goddamn talents and they're not doing the right things with enough of them. Now, they can't feature everybody on top all the damn time. They can't, and that's totally fine, and that's totally fucking understandable. But take a look at the roster page for Raw, the roster, if you will. Take a look at the SmackDown page. Take a look at the 205 Live page. And 205 Live is something that needs to be featured in Full Sail. I'm sorry, they get some people interested occasionally in the main events on 205 Live, but that's for like the 60% of the audience is still left. I want the 205 Live brand to succeed. I want NXT to succeed. I want WWE in general to succeed. I want Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan to succeed. I want all these promotions to succeed. Unless it's anything involving Chase and Rants, and in that case, that dumb fuck should be in jail. And you know why. And if you don't know, Google the name. Google the name. You'll find out why. But WWE is at a bit of a crossroads in 2018. Now, they got these TV contracts coming in. The Fox deal doesn't come in until just over a year from now, actually. It's October 2019, which will be interesting. Will affect the TV schedule and everything, and the recording schedule that various YouTubers like myself do, provided I'm still reviewing wrestling then. Of course, I'm going to be reviewing wrestling by then. But they got a lot of money coming in. The problem is they have so many people. It is like a crowd lifeboat. It's like a conglomeration of a bunch of federations. It's like, okay, example, wrapping up here really soon. When Jim Crockett Promotions assumed all these territories in the 80s, UWF, Florida, various others, there were times on a lot of their shows where they featured some various titles and you didn't understand why. It's because they acquired those, they acquired the syndicated TV there. They acquired the rosters because they bought out the territories. Because the territories were on their ass and they were able to get them cheap. And it was a great way to get some talents. The problem is it got so bloated that the booking suffered. The booking is suffering mightily. Now, SmackDown is a little bit better. They still have some issues, like, figuring out what the hell to do with Ty Dillinger. And figuring out if anybody can be ever so fucking focused like Jeff Hardy. Because seriously, look at Jeff Hardy. Look at Jeff Hardy. He is so focused on getting his ass kicked all the time. But the deal is, the main roster, and I'm sorry, I'm laughing a little bit. The main roster and NXT, they're at a crossroads because so many talents are going to get frustrated and going to want to leave. A lot of the signees, the indie signees that they did back in 2014, 2015, even 2016, are suffering. I mean, Sami Zayn currently is injured, but Nakamura, they made him a U.S. champion. He's still been beating the powder because his title reign hasn't really meant much of anything. And he came in with all the hype in the world. Plenty of people have come in with a lot of hype Some have sank, some have some have swam and swimmed. I guess swimmed could be a word. But Undisputed Era, it's like Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, Bobby Fish, led by Adam Cole, blah, blah, which sounds like Droopy doing that. Blah, blah. There we go. That's better. They have been able to do pretty well. That is also thanks to being creatively booked well. There are plenty that aren't. And that's where this is going to come in. And I'm going to finish up this rant here. Do you feel that WWE relies on part-timers too much or doesn't use them right? Do you feel that WWE is oversaturating their TV product with too much content as a way to either A, keep people away from the competition, other companies, or B, do they just want to keep having this global reach and they feel that, this is the best way to appeal to people in different markets? Do you feel it's both? Do you feel that WWE's roster is so goddamn big that it's like WCW's and that they're having some issues? And that they're soon going to be like a bubble that's about to burst? What do you think is going to happen? Do you see WWE kind of reaching a breaking point and people leaving? I want you to know, or let me know in the comments what you think. And I will be doing near the end of the year talents that I think will leave WWE in 2019. But anyway, I wanted to touch on the current WWE products, so let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. Twitter link in the description. It's been real awesome with John Ritlin, and I will see you soon.